Session is called to order. All please rise for the invocation to be delivered by Representative Lawrence R. Defensor of the 3rd District of Iloilo.
Hello. Let us bow our heads and in silence pray for peace and harmony in this house, the home of democracy. God Almighty, as we recall the hardships and pain we endured the past year, may our trials inspire us even more to serve and uplift the lives of our countrymen. Guide us as we remember with gratitude our blessings, however small and simple they may be. Pledge to keep ourselves and our families safe and in good health while sharing whatever good fortune we have to the less fortunate. As we enter the new year, may we set aside our differences and find peace in our hearts. May we be true examples of reconciliation and unity. By regaining each other's trust, we also earn the people's confidence in their representatives once more. Let our individual faiths and convictions be the guiding force in our work. May the laws that pass through these halls reflect our commitment to serve the best interests of the people and touch the lives of every Filipino for the better. In all we do, we pray that honesty and integrity may reign. May they serve us well in our mission to maintain democracy and uphold the rule of law. Amen.
Please remain standing for the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupit, di ka pasisingil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong baghaw, may nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng wataw at mo'y tagumpay na naniningil, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walang pagsikta, buhay ay langit sa piling ko. Aming ligaya dapat may mga ating pagmamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we call the roll of members.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved and the Secretary General is directed to call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. Honorable Representatives Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg Zaldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez France, Alvarez Genaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagaching, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabutsan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Mariela Arni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalao, Co Angelica, Co Elizaldi, Cojuangco, Colyantes, Crisologo, Cuwa, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Veneza, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, Deloso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudis Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Geron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gulias, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Haloshos, Javier, Jimenez, Co Elisa, Co Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Mariño, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Naganyo, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Núñez Malanyaon, Guaminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Ieda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sangkopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulog, Savellano, Siao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alaisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Chanco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikurat, Zarate, Subiri. Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 300 members responded to the call.
With 300 members responding to the call, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the approval of the journal number 13, dated December 14 to 16, 2020. So move, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to approve the journal number 13 for Monday to Wednesday, December 14 to 16. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up the reference of business. Reference of business, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any objection?
And
Chair
request
hears
the
none.
Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bills on first reading.
Is there any
So moved, Mr.
objection?
Chair.
The chair hears none. Motion is approved, and the Secretary General is directed to read the titles and the resolutions on first reading for referral to the appropriate committees.
Reference of business, bills on first reading. House Bill number 8264, recognizing, defining, and protecting the rights of heterosexuals by Representative Abante.
To the committee
House
on-
Bill number 8265, providing for a system of postal voting by senior citizens, PWDs, pregnant women, and indigenous peoples by Representative
To
Barba.
the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill number 8266, increasing the value of money and the penalties for malversation of public funds by Representatives Swansing Horacio and
To
Swansing
the Committee on
Estrelita.
Revision of Laws.
House Bill number 8267, providing for the benefits and privileges to single persons and their dependents by Representative Violago.
To the Committee on Population and Family Relations.
House Bill number 8271, amending certain sections of the Comprehensive Firearms and Ammunition Regulation Act by Representatives Swansing Estrelita and Swansing Horacio.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill number 8272, declaring Colosboa Hills, also known as the Little New Zealand of Central Luzon, located in Colosboa, Cuyapo, Nueva Ecija, a tourist destination by Representative Swansing Estrelita.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill number 8274, providing for the establishment of a children's hospital in Liloan, Cebu, to be known as the Liloan Children's Hospital by Representative Frasco.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 8275, upgrading the Cebu Provincial Hospital in Danau City, Cebu, into a Level 2 General Hospital to be known as the North Cebu Medical Center by Representative Frasco.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 8276, declaring the city of Iligan a mining-free zone by Representative Xiao.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill number 8277, resetting the first regular elections for the Bangsamoro government under the organic law by Representative Ungab.
To the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms, the Committee on Muslim Affairs, and the Special Committee on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity.
House Bill number 8278, establishing a Philippine Farmers Hospital in Nueva Ecija by Representative Kabatbat.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 8279, repealing the mendicancy law of 1978 by Representative Kabatbat.
The Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill number 8280, providing for a vaccine or immunization passport for COVID-19 and other infectious diseases by Representative Ong Roni.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 8281, creating separate irrigation management offices of the NIA for the province of Sarangani and General Santos City by Representative Pacquiao Rogelio.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill number 8282, excluding certain portions of the Naval Station San Miguel in the municipalities of San Narciso and San Antonio, province of Zambales, from the operation of Proclamation 938 and declaring the excluded portions open to disposition under the provisions of Republic Act No. 730 as amended to qualified occupants without public auction by Representative Deloso Montalia.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill No. 8283, converting the municipality of Manolo Fortich in the province of Bukidnon into a component city to be known as the City of Manolo Fortich by Representatives Acosta Alba, Flores, Subiri, Roque, Rodriguez, Romualdo, Dimaporo Khalid, T. Diego, Oaminal, and Uy Juliet.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill No. 8284, providing for the manner of election of the elective members of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan of Laguna, representing the cities of San Pedro, Santa Rosa, and Binyan, by Representatives Fernandez and Alonte.
To the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill No. 8285, providing mechanisms necessary for the immediate procurement, distribution, and administration of COVID-19 vaccines, by Representative Salceda.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill No. 8286, extending the franchise granted to Amado L. Ola, presently known as Estate of Mr. Amado L. Ola, OPC, doing business as Amapola Broadcasting System, by Representative Mangudadatu.
To the Committee on Legislative Franchises.
House Bill No. 8288, amending RA No. 10586, penalizing persons driving under the influence of alcohol, dangerous drugs, and similar substances and other purposes, by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill No. 8289, regulating crematories, by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill No. 8290, promoting the adoption of digital payments for financial transactions of the government and all merchants, by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill No. 8291, enhancing the regulation on employment of foreign nationals and transfer of technology, by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill No. 8292, creating the Insurance Fraud Detection Division under the NBI, by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill No. 8293, establishing the Philippine High School for Creative Arts System, by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture and the Special Committee on Creative Industry and Performing Arts.
House Bill No. 8294, facilitating the administration of justice by strengthening the fraud detection, prevention, and elimination capability of the government by creating a Philippine Death Check Register, an online death verification system under the PSA, by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill No. 8295, strengthening the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2003, by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Welfare of Children.
House Bill No. 8296, amending the Universal Health Care Act, by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill No. 8297, granting the DOH the direct control and supervision of the Garcia Memorial Provincial Hospital in Talibon, Bohol, by Representative Aumentado.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill numbers 8298 and 8322, renewing the franchise granted to ABS-CBN Broadcasting Corporation, presently known as ABS-CBN Corporation, and to the Bicol Telephone and Telegraph Incorporated, by Representatives Santos Recto and Lagman.
To the Committee on Legislative Franchises.
House Bill number 8299, institutionalizing the Tamaraw Conservation Program, by Representative Ramirez Sato.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill number 8300 and 8316, granting the President of the Philippines the power to suspend the scheduled increases in PhilHealth premium contribution rates, by Representatives Kimbo and Velasco.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 8301, exempting the COVID-19 vaccine from import duties, taxes, and other fees for private sector employees and dependents, by Representative Rodriguez.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill number 8302, regulating and professionalizing the practice of association management, by Representative Rodriguez.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill number 8303, establishing the rental housing subsidy program, by Representative Olivares.
To the Committee on Housing and Urban Development.
House Bill numbers A304, A313, and A315, mandating the suspension, deferring the implementation of increase in SSS contribution rates by Representatives Villanueva, Eduardo, Rivera, Gomark, and Abellanosa.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill number A305, enhancing the protection and development of the Sierra Madre region by Representatives D. Faustino Ino, Go Ed, D. Ian, Tan Alaisa, D. Faustino Michael, and T. Alan.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill number A306, providing for the regulatory framework for open harbor pilotage in the country by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill number A307, expanding the prohibition of discriminatory acts against women on account of sex by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill number A308, reforming the budget process by enforcing greater accountability in public financial management by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill number A309, strengthening the Philippine Sports Commission by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Bill number A310, removing the automatic increase of contributions of the Social Security System by Representatives Zarate, Gaite, Culyamat, Castro Franz, Brosas, and Elago.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill number A311, removing the automatic increase of premium contributions of the PhilHealth by Representatives Zarate, Gaite, Culyamat, Castro Franz, Brosas, and Elago.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill numbers A312 and A314, suspending, deferring the implementation of increase in PhilHealth contribution rates by Representatives Abellanosa and Gomark.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number A317, granting the President of the Philippines the power to suspend the scheduled increases in SSS contribution rates by Representative Velasco.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill number A318, establishing a support system for all aspects of poverty through the creation of momentary support center, feeding center in every legislative district nationwide by Representative Subiri.
To the Committee on Poverty Alleviation.
House Bill number A319, exempting the sale or importation of disposable absorbent hygiene pads from value-added tax by Representative Garbin.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill number A320, recognizing CCF Life Academy Foundation Incorporated as an educational institution of international character by Representative Romulo.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number A321, mandating the establishment of healthcare information management systems in all medical service providers by Representative Lopez.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number A323, establishing the Philippine Forensic Science Institute and appropriating funds therefor by Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Science and Technology.
House Bill number A324, granting tax incentives to all employers and Philippine common carriers for the importation of the coronavirus vaccines for both the private and public sector workforce by Representatives De Jesus, Dagook, Ebcas, and Guya.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill number A325, mandating the language accessibility of disaster-related information by Representative Cabot.
To the Committee on Disaster Resilience.
House Bill number A326, creating the Special Mass Transit System Support Fund by Representative Cabochan.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill number A327, creating programs for the incarcerated parents and their children by Representative Cabochan.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill number A328, granting birthday cash gift amounting to 1,000 pesos to registered PWDs by Representative Cabochan.
To the Special Committee on Persons with Disabilities.
House Bill number A329, strengthening the Philippine Public Library System by Representative Cabochan.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number A330, extending the period for the conduct of plebiscite for the ratification of Presidential Proclamation number 1057 series of 2020 of His Excellency President Rodrigo Roa Duterte declaring the city of San Jose del Monte as a highly urbanized city and for other purposes by Representative Robes.
To the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
Resolutions. House Resolution number 1437, expressing full support of the House in the observance and celebration of International Migrants' Day and affirming the Philippines' commitment to protect the rights and welfare of Filipino migrants all over the world, by Representatives Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Maria Arni, Villafuerte, Abu Fernandez, Tolentino, Defensor Michael C. Alvarado, Abaya, Erice, and Bagatsing.
To the Committee on Overseas Workers' Affairs.
House Resolution 1438, urging the President to grant 5,000 pesos gratuity pay to job order and contract of service workers in government for fiscal year 2020. By Representatives Gaite, Zarate, Colyamat, Castro Franz, Brosas, and Elago.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Resolution 1439, urging the House to investigate the EJK of Dr. Mary Rose Sanselan and Edwin Sanselan in Gihulngan City, Negros Oriental after being victims of red tagging, by Representatives Colyamat, Zarate, Gaite, Brosas, Castro Franz, and Elago.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1440, urging the PNRI, the DOST, and all concerned agencies to release the names of the brands found to contain adulterated or counterfeited honey, by Representative Barba.
To the Committee on Science and Technology.
House Resolution 1441, expressing the commendation and strong support of the members of the Central Luzon Bloc of the House to Honorable Rexlon T. Gatchalian and other officials of the City of Valenzuela for their bold stance in ensuring the unimpeded flow of traffic in the NLEX following the technical glitches which resulted from the North Luzon Expressway Corporation full but haphazard implementation of the RFID system, by Representatives Wansing Estrelita, Deloso Montalia, C. Alvarado, Angara, Macapagal Arroyo, Bondok, Coangco, Garcia Jose Enrique, Conghun, Lazatin, Natividad Naganyo, Pancho, Robes, Roman, Silverio, Vergara, Villanueva Noel, Villarica, Violago, and Yap Victor.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Resolution 1442, directing the DOE and other concerned agencies to defer the review the legality and propriety of DOE-issued Department Circular Number 2019-01-001 by Representatives De Jesus, Dagook, Ebcas, and Guya.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Resolution 1443, directing the Defeat COVID-19 Ad Hoc Committee to investigate into the national government's vaccination program and plans against the SARS-CoV-2 virus that ultimately causes COVID-19, by Representatives Zarate, Gaite, Colyamat, Brosas, Castro Franz, and Elago.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1444, calling for the immediate and unconditional release of the 7 human rights defenders arrested on International Human Rights Day, by Representatives Elago, Castro Franz, Zarate, Gaite, Colyamat, and Brosas.
To the Committee on Human Rights.
House Resolution 1445, urging Committee on Human Rights to condemn the killings of mother and son Sonia Rufino Gregorio and Frank Anthony Gregorio by Police Senior Master Sergeant Jonel Nuesca in Paniki, Tarlac, and to investigate the continuing police brutality in the country, by Representatives Colyamat, Zarate, Gaite, Brosas, Castro Franz, and Elago.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1446, directing the appropriate committee of the House to inquire on the killings of Sonia and Frank Gregorio by an official of the PNP and the effectiveness of the agency's policies and trainings and evaluating the performance and mental fitness of its personnel, by Representative Kimbo.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1447, urging the DOTR, PPA, Maritime Industry Authority, PNP, HPG, and the DILG to take immediate action against congestion and allegations of corruption in the Port of Matnog and other local ports, by Representative Sarmiento.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1448, urging the NPC, Internal Affairs Service, and the PNP to immediately impose sanctions and initiate administrative and criminal cases against erring police officers who have an unusually high number of offenses and cases, by Representative Sarmiento.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Resolution 1449, urging the House to investigate the killing of 9 Tumandok indigenous peoples leaders and the arrest of 18 others during the synchronized operations of police and the military forces in Capiz and Iloilo, by Representatives Colyamat, Zarate, Gaite, Brosas, Castro Franz, and Elago.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1450, calling for the DTI, DSWD, National Commission on Senior Citizens, National Commission on Disability Affairs, and other relevant government agencies to immediately draft and implement guidelines on the applicability of senior citizens and PWD discounts and privileges to all online transactions by Representative Ordanes.
To the Special Committee on Senior Citizens and the Special Committee on Persons with Disabilities.
House Resolution 1451, calling for an urgent inquiry by the Committees on Health and Good Government and Public Accountability into the VIP COVID-19 vaccination of PSG personnel using unauthorized and unregistered vaccines by Representatives Castro Fran, Zarate, Gaite, Culiamat, Brosas, and Elago.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1452, commending the troopers of the 53rd Infantry Battalion, Philippine Army under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel Joe R.A. Herrera, GSC, PA, for the valuable achievements in counterinsurgency, anti-violent extremism, and successful dismantling of guerrilla fronts of communist terrorist groups in Western Mindanao by Representative Babasa.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Resolution 1453, urging the Philippine government to allow the private sector to acquire and purchase COVID-19 vaccines for their employees and their dependents by Representative Rodriguez.
To the Committee on Health.
House Resolution 1454, urging the Committee on Rural Development to review the criteria and qualifications of the poorest of the poor provinces of the DA Special Area for Agricultural Development Program and provide recommendations therefore by Representatives Co. Elisa, Cabredo, Babasa, Ecleo, Dalog, Dagook, Culiamat, and Guya.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1455, urging the DOH and the IATF-EID to ensure cost-effective distribution and sufficient logistical equipment and capacity building for the COVID-19 vaccination program by Representative Kimbo.
To the Committee on Health.
House Resolution 1456, deferring the implementation of the premium rate increase by the PhilHealth for 2021 by Representative Noel.
To the Committee on Health.
House Resolution numbers 1457, 1459, and 1461, expressing the profound sympathy and condolences of the House to the Honorable MMDA Chairperson Danilo de la Paz Lim and to his spouse, Representative Aloy Lim, and their family, by Representatives Cardema, Lopez, and Olivares.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1458, directing the Committee on Public Order and Safety to investigate the Philippine National Police's mishandling of Christine Angelica Daceras case and recommend measures for the concerned agencies to conduct a thorough investigation to ensure the fair and competent resolution of the case, by Representatives Brosas, Zarate, Gaite, Culiamat, Castro Franz, and Elago.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1460, urging the Philippine government to allow the LGUs to directly acquire and purchase COVID-19 vaccines for their constituents, by Representative Rodriguez.
To the Committee on Health.
House Resolution 1462, expressing profound sympathy and condolences from the House to the bereaved family of the Honorable Representative Ben-Hur Salimbangon, by Representative Olivares.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1463 and 1476, expressing profound sympathy and condolences from the House to the bereaved family of the Honorable Representative Reynaldo V. O'Malley, former representative of the 2nd District of Oriental Mindoro in the 15th, 16th, and 17th Congresses, by Representatives Olivares and Tambunting.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1464, commending the Abuyog St. Francis Xavier Credit Cooperative for its exemplary contribution to cooperative development and its remarkable achievement as a partner for economic growth, sustainable development, and nation building, by Representative Kanama.
To the Committee on Cooperatives Development.
House Resolution 1465, seeking to perfect the title of House Resolution 76 as the resolution commending the Dumaguete Cathedral Credit Cooperative Multipurpose Cooperative for its outstanding achievements and leadership in the field of cooperative development, by Representative Kanama.
To the Committee on Cooperatives Development.
House Resolution 1466, seeking hospitable and compassionate treatment of foreign nationals stranded in the country because of the COVID-19 pandemic, by Representative Chutor.
To the Committee on Health.
House Resolution 1467, urging all LGUs to pass an ordinance waiving all regulatory fees due from private educational institutions in basic education, technical and vocational, and in higher education by Representative Romulo.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture and the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Resolution 1468 declaring a housing crisis and urging the Executive Department to mobilize resources to accelerate housing production and provide adequate housing to underserved families by Representative Benitez.
To the Committee on Housing and Urban Development.
House Resolution 1469 urging LGUs through the League of Provinces, League of Cities, and League of Municipalities to waive the assessment and collection of regulatory fees imposed upon private higher education institutions and technical vocational education institutions operating within their respective jurisdictions by Representative Go Mark.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Resolution 1470 expressing the profound condolences of the House on the demise of Amelia La Peña Bonifacio, National Artist of the Philippines for the Theater, by Representative Veloso.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1471 commending Max Steven Melicor, Christian James Fantonial, and Elram Espra of the Philippine Science High School Central Visayas Campus for securing the patent from the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines for their innovation known as the Multi-Purpose Interconnected Transceiver System, MITs, by Representative Omentado.
To the Committee on Science and Technology.
House Resolution 1472 urging the House to inquire into the propriety of the PCSO's 2020 RIRR on STL with existing laws and jurisprudence by Representatives D. Faustino Ino, Albano, Goed, D. Ian, Tan Alaysa, D. Faustino Michael, and T. Alan.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1473 urging the DOH and the IATF EID through the Committee on Health to prioritize seafarers and maritime workers in the administration of vaccine against the COVID-19 by Representatives Gonzales, Sandro, and Lusotan.
To the Committee on Health.
House Resolution 1474 urging the ERC to address the concerns of residential electricity consumers of Cebu on the alleged arbitrary disconnection of their services by distribution companies without the provision of their electric bills and prior notice of disconnection by Representative Sarmiento.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Resolution 1475 directing the appropriate House Committee to inquire the killing of mother and son Sonia Rufino Gregorio and Frank Anthony Gregorio by Police Senior Master Sergeant Jonel Nuesca in Paniki, Tarlac, and to investigate other incidents of brutality committed by the PNP by Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1477 directing the appropriate committees to inquire on the distribution utilities and the ERC relative to the use of average billing system for electrical consumption in residential households by Representative
To
Lacson.
the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1478 commemorating the 50th anniversary of the 1971 Constitutional Convention and honoring the delegates who drafted the 1935, 1973, and 1987 constitutions for the essential role in transforming the Philippine political, economic, and social milieus by Representative Romualdez.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Joint Resolution numbers 33 and 34, deferring the implementation mandating suspension of the increase in the PhilHealth premium rate amid the COVID-19 pandemic by Representatives Defensor Michael Garbin, Barbers D. Faustino Michael, Ecleo, Arroyo, Macapagal Arroyo, Co. Angelica de los Santos, Padiernos, Albano, Natividad Naganyo, Suarez Aleta, Teves Jose, Crisologo, Revilla, Radaza, Babasa, Kabatbat, Acop, Co. Elizalde, Momo, Guya, Vargas Alfonso, De Jesus, Erigel, Cueva, Amante Matba, Salimbangon, Sanchez, Belmonte, T. Alan, Lagon, Bautista Bandigan, Cardema, Villaraza Suarez, Abueg Saldivar, Nolasco, Uano Dizon, Brosas, Zarate, Culyamat, Gaite, Castro Franz, and Elago.
To the Committee on Health.
Message from the President. Veto message dated December 28, 2020 of President Duterte on certain items of RA number 11518.
To the Committee on Rules.
Message from the Senate. Message dated December 16, 2020, informing the House that the Senate on December 15, 2020 passed Senate Bill number 1931.
To the Committee on Justice.
Communications, emails dated July 17 and November 3, 2020, of the provinces of Bataan and Batangas submitting to the House their quarterly financial report of operations for the quarter ending June and September 2020 on the Local Government Support Fund conditional matching grant to provinces for road repair, rehabilitation, and improvement.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Letters and emails from several municipal mayors, city mayors, and provincial governors informing the House on their reports on fund utilization and status of programs, projects, activities, implementation relative to Bayanihan Grant to cities, municipalities, and provinces for certain months of 2020.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Letter dated 29 October 2020 of Silvestre H. Bello III, Secretary Dole, submitting to the House their semi-annual report to Congress of the Philippine Overseas Labor Offices from January to June 2020.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
Letter dated 30 October 2020 of Benjamin E. Diokno, Governor, BSP, submitting to the House their status report on the Philippine financial system for the first semester of 2020.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
Letter dated December 15, 2020 of Salvador C. Medialdea, Executive Secretary, Office of the President, Malacanang, to the Honorable Senate President Soto, transmitting the letter of President Duterte, copy furnished the Honorable Speaker Velasco, certifying to the necessity of the immediate enactment of Senate Bill number 1945 that was transmitted to the Senate.
To the Committee on Rules.
Letters dated December 16 and 28, 2020, and January 3 and 5, 2021, of Salvador C. Medialdea, Executive Secretary, Office of the President, Malacanang, transmitting two original copies of RA numbers 11502, 11509, 11510, 11511, 11517, 11518, 11519, and 11520, which were signed by President Duterte.
To the Archives.
Letter dated December 29, 2020 of Salvador C. Medialdea, Executive Secretary, Office of the President, Malacanang, transmitting two original copies each of RE numbers 11503, 11504, 11505, and 11506, all of which lapsed into law on 20 December 2020.
To the Archives.
Letter dated December 29, 2020 of Salvador C. Medialdea, Executive Secretary, Office of the President, Malacanang, transmitting two original copies of each Republic Act numbers 11507 and 11508, all of which lapsed into law on December 21, 2020.
To the Archives.
Letter dated December 29, 2020 of Salvador C. Medialdea, Executive Secretary, Office of the President, Malacanang, transmitting two original copies each of RE numbers 11512, 11513, 11514, 11515, and 11516, all of which lapsed into law on December 26, 2020.
To the Archives.
Committee reports. Report number 705, the Committees on Health and Appropriations on House Bill number 8273. Report number 706 of the Committees on Basic Education and Culture and Appropriations on House Bill number 8287. Report number 707 of the Committees on Tourism and Appropriations on House Bill number 8377.
To the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, today being Monday and pursuant to our rules, I move that we open the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? Here's none. Motion is approved and the Chair declares a privilege hour. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that the gentleman from Sagip Party List, the Honorable Representative Rodante Marcoleta, be recognized to avail the privilege hour. So move, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Rodante D. Marcoleta, Deputy Speaker and Party List Representative of Sagip Party List, is hereby recognized for his privileged speech.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker, at sa mga kasamahan natin sa kapulungan ito. Mr. Speaker, in the Declaration of Principles and Policies, the Rules of the House, paragraph 2 states, public office is a public trust. The House of Representatives and every member thereof are accountable to the people at all times. They shall perform their legislative mandates with utmost competence, efficiency, effectiveness, integrity, and fidelity to the people's welfare. In addition, Rule 20, Section 142 provides, there is hereby established in the House the following Code of Conduct. A member shall act at all times in a manner that shall reflect credibility in the House. Republic Act 6713 provides in Section 4, Paragraph C as follows. Justness and sincerity. Public officials and employees shall remain true to the people at all times. They must act with justness and sincerity and shall not discriminate against anyone, especially the poor and the underprivileged. They shall at all times respect the rights of others and shall refrain from doing acts contrary to law, good morals, good customs, public policy, public order, public safety, and public interest. Mr. Speaker, I made reference to these guideposts in order for us to be reminded as to what we are. A set of moral compass to guide us as to who we are. Slides 1, 2, 3, please. Mr. Speaker, those slides are intended to show the demolition that took place in Osamis City between the months of April to August of last year. Konting problema yung ating mga video, Mr. Speaker. As I said, these video clips were taken, Mr. Speaker, in Osamis City, Misamis Occidental, sometime between April and August last year, in the middle of the pandemic, in connection with the implementation of 19KJ 0186 project entitled Construction of Multipurpose Building Housing Project Cluster, including site development through the initiative of Deputy Speaker Henry Waminal. Based on the 102-page fiscal year 2019 status of contract report issued by DPWH Region 10 with Bukidnon First District Engineering Office as implementing agency, this so-called multipurpose housing project was already 71.36% completed as of January 31, 2020. First, this must be checked, Mr. Speaker, because it does not appear to be the fact on the ground as we speak. Can we have slide 4, please? Slide 4, please. Ayan po yung building na kinoconstruct. That picture or photo was taken last December 24, 2020. Ang sabi po sa report ng Bukidnon District Engineering Office, it is 71.36% completed as of January 2020. Yan po ang kanyang forma as of December last year. How can a project that barely started in April 2020 be 71% finished on January 31, 2020, Mr. Speaker? Hindi pa man nag-uumpisa, Mr. Speaker, halos tapos na nang i-report ng DPWH. Second, the said project is a local infrastructure project, or LIP, per certification of the OIC of the 2nd District Engineering Office of the DPWH in Tangub City, dated September 8, 2020. In the same certification, it was affirmed that it is the 2nd Engineering District Office that is implementing the project and not the 1st Engineering Office of Bukidnon. Apparently, Mr. Speaker, there is a ghost project somewhere. Third, does the DPWH now undertake housing projects and as such already assume the functions of the National Housing Authority or the Department of Human Settlement and Human Development? But the most unconscionable aspect of this project, Mr. Speaker, was the unlawful taking of privately owned lots through an expropriation complaint filed against several of the city's own residents by the city mayor, the son of D.S. Waminal, on January 18, 2020. Records show that as of today, the court issued a writ of possession against 2 residents and none to the rest. But with or without the writs issued, the city government summarily demolished their houses. The affected residents filed certiorari petition directly to the Honorable Supreme Court, invoking extreme urgency and the transcendental nature of the case. But the usual nonchalance and complacency of the judiciary with the lockdown and quarantine orders obtaining frustrated their plea for immediate help. And so in late April of last year, Mr. Speaker, the city government of Osamis City started building the 2 condo-type housing in Barangay Laman, Osamis City, which barangay captain Sancho Waminal Jr. is the brother of D.S. Henry Waminal. The video clip shown earlier narrate how the demolition and summary eviction was undertaken. These were all done without any court orders, Mr. Speaker. Yusik Echeverry of the DILG further confirmed to this representation the unlawful demolition of the residents' houses without court orders. Mr. Speaker, in July last year, this representation communicated with D.S. Waminal, advising him to the effect that due process must be observed in implementing his project. Again, those video clips will confirm that my advice fell on deaf ears, Mr. Speaker. Now it can be told, as we speak, the 2 condo-type housing structures in Laman, Osamis City, are being constructed on lands not owned by the government, done in the backdrop of the chilling shadows of the tattered homes of its aggrieved citizens. Only in Osamis City, Mr. Speaker, and as the project originator himself, D.S. Henry Waminal may now have earned the moniker the Demolition Man. Slide 5. Slide number 5, please. Problema ang sound, Mr. Speaker, but In this press con, Mr. Speaker, Diaz Waminal was invoking Republic Act 10752 in justifying the expropriation of lands for the so-called housing project. He maintains that it is a national project contrary to the certification of the district engineer of the DPWH. In that particular press con, Mr. Speaker, when Diaz Waminal was already referring to Section 6 of that law, he abruptly stopped. Why? Because this provision clearly shows that the expropriation proceedings must always be initiated through the Office of the Solicitor General or the Office of the Government Corporate Counsel or the deputized government or private counsel. Who initiated the expropriation of property in question in Lam'an, Osamis City? The city government of Osamis, represented by the mayor, son of Diaz Waminal, and in the barangay, captained by his brother. Did he coordinate with the Office of the Solicitor General or the Office of the Government Corporate Counsel? No, Mr. Speaker. Was the government of Osamis City deputized to initiate the expropriation? No, Mr. Speaker. Under Section 6 of the expropriation law, the proponents should immediately deposit to the court upon filing the expropriation complaint the following: the amount equivalent to the sum of 100% of the value of the land based on the current relevant zonal valuation of the BIR. Number two, the replacement cost at current market value of the improvement and structures as determined by the special agencies of the government. Number three, the current market value of crops and trees located within the property as determined by special agents and agencies of government. Tinupad po ba agad ng ang mga requirements na ito matapos maghain ang Osamis City ng expropriation complaint? Hindi po. Mr. Speaker, aside from RA 10752, which is the controlling law on expropriation, there is another controlling law violated by the proponents of this project. Under Section 10 of Republic Act 7972, the Urban Land and Housing Act of 1992, the following is categorical and instructive. The modes of acquiring lands for purposes of this act shall include, among others, community mortgage, land swapping, land assembly or consolidation, land banking, donation to the government, joint venture agreement, negotiated purchase, and expropriation. Provided that expropriation shall be resorted only when other modes of acquisition have been exhausted. Provided further that where expropriation is resorted to, parcels of land owned by small property owners shall be exempted for purposes of this act. Yes, Mr. Speaker, the residents who oppose the site development are small landowners who use their hard-earned income from honest work to build a modest home for their respective families. The irony of it all, Mr. Speaker, is that it took a mysterious and intriguing multipurpose building dubbed as a housing project for the poor to destroy existing houses built by ordinary residents on their titled lands without the observance of the elementary requisites of due process. There were no orders or writs of demolitions issued by the courts, no compensation, no relocation, no proper consultation. The DILG and PNP did not lift a finger to help despite the request from this representation. But that is another point to be dealt with some other time, Mr. Speaker. What made these demolition and eviction activities even more revolting and unscrupulous, Mr. Speaker, is the fact that these were undertaken at the time of a declared state of calamity throughout the country, as well as a state of public health emergency. It is public knowledge that between mid-March and August this year, the most rigid type of lockdown and stay-home orders were implemented by the government. Yet the proponents of this project, Mr. Speaker, were busy demolishing homes without let-up. This happened, Mr. Speaker, despite the issuance of DILG Memorandum Circular number 2020-068, postponing all administrative demolition during enhanced community quarantine. Clause 2 of that memorandum provides, and I quote, purpose. This memorandum circular is issued to direct all LGUs to postpone all demolition and eviction activities and ensure that all homeless citizens within their jurisdictions are properly accommodated. This circular, Mr. Speaker, ensures that all homeless citizens are accommodated within the respective jurisdictions of LGUs during the pandemic. That is why all the demolition and eviction activities are postponed. The proponents of the project, on the other hand, DS Waminal, Mayor Waminal, and Barangay Captain Waminal conspired to ensure that several of the residents are rendered homeless by destroying their homes and evicting them during the lockdown and pandemic. Slide 6, please. On November 21, 2020, the City Administrator, Attorney Sam Norman Fuentes, the brother-in-law of DS Waminal, asked one of the residents to write to him and for them to request from him a relocation for their bedridden mother. In the photograph, that is the bedridden mother of one of the residents, Mr. Speaker. Only the barangay hall was offered as relocation. Slide 7, please. Can you fix the video, please? Walang sound dyan eh. Para makita natin. No, that's not the one. Slide 6, yan nga. Slide 7, slide 7. Walang sound eh. May diferensya po mga slides, Mr. Speaker. Sayang naman, because the slide 7 shows how the eviction is being conducted. Malakas ang ulan noon. Yung matanda na may sakit na nasa wheelchair ay binubuhat. Di ba natin pwedeng ipakita? This is the first eviction of one of the residents by virtue of a break-open order issued by the court. By the way, Mr. Speaker, this representation holds a document that judges in Osamis City receive 50,000 pesos allowance per month from the city government. Before the family of this resident was finally evicted on November 24, 2020, they had an emotional and moving prayer seeking for justice and retribution. Slide 8, please. Sana naman, maipakita natin ng mabuti yung slide. Slide 8 po. Slide 1 and 2 and 3 yan pinapakita ninyo eh. What happened to the audio system? Dapat po kasi makita natin kung paano po nagdasal, paano po nanalangin ang isang sambahayan bago po sila umalis. Tinesting po natin mabuti kanina yan bago po. Bakit naman po hindi natin maipakita ng mabuti ngayon? Can you go direct to slide 8, please? Sound, please. Sayang po, Mr. Speaker, because that slide depicts how the family was praying hard. They are all crying for justice. This is minutes before they left their own home. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, a day later, due to stroke while being evicted, their mother died. Ang kanyang mga labi ay hindi na po naiburol sa kanilang bahay kung saan marahil binuo ng kanyang pamilya ang kanilang mga payak at mumunting mga pangarap. Pwede ba yung slide 9? Ayan po, Mr. Speaker. Namatay na po yung kanilang nanay, nakaburol na po. Earlier, Mr. Speaker, I referred to a set of rules, the moral compass that will guide us and to constantly remind us as to who we are, far from becoming into what we should not be, like tormenting the very constituents that we all vowed to serve. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker, sa inyong panahon. Maraming salamat po sa ating mga kasamahan dito sa loob ng kapulungan.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Deputy Speaker Dante Marcoleta to the Committee on Rules for appropriate action. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, next to avail of the privilege hour is the Honorable Franz Castro of the Party List Act Teachers. I move that she be recognized.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. Motion is approved, and the Honorable Franz Castro of the Party List Act Teachers is recognized for her privileged speech. The Honorable Franz Castro may proceed. Session suspended. Session resumes. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw my formal motion to recognize the Honorable Franz Castro, and instead, I move that we recognize the Honorable Janet Garin of the First District of Iloilo City to avail of the privilege hour. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved, and the Honorable Janet L. Garin of the First District of Iloilo City is recognized for her privilege speech.
Mr. Chair, may I request the Secretariat to please flash my slides? Next slide, please. Magandang hapon po sa lahat, our distinguished speaker, our honorable colleagues, and of course to the member of the Rules family. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about promoting vaccine literacy and building resilience to misinformation. Why is this very important? This is very important because in these challenging times, we don't want a virus that is worse than COVID, a virus that is actually misleading all of us in the name of vaccinology. Just as a point of disclosure, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, yours truly is an ADVAC alumni. ADVAC stands for Advanced Course in Vaccinology via full scholarship. This intensive course, organized by the Fondation Merieux and the University of Geneva, covers critical decision-making in vaccinology by providing participants with a comprehensive overview of the field, from immunology to vaccine development and clinical trials and the social, economic, political, and ethical issues of vaccination. These scholarships are funded by philanthropists, rich governments, international organizations, and a pooled fund from pharmaceuticals, where selection of participants and scholars are independently handled by the University of Geneva without any influence from the funders or sponsors. Whatever I have been saying in relation to vaccinology is not in any way affected by any donor to the university and to the foundation that deals with vaccinology as a whole. Next slide, please. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, vaccination against infectious diseases has been recognized as one of the 10 greatest public health achievements of the 20th century. Given the substantial impact immunizations have had globally across a range of diseases, including polio, influenza, pneumonia, measles, mumps, rubella, viral hepatitis, pertussis, and oncogenic human papilloma virus. In fact, in the United States of America, vaccination is one of its top 10 great achievements in public health. This simply means that if our government calls for everybody who qualifies to be vaccinated, then we should heed their call because all other countries are doing the same. Next slide, please. Vaccine works to save lives. There are already an estimated of 2 to 3 million deaths prevented every year because of vaccines. It protects against 26 diseases, help limit the spread of antibiotic resistance. Why? Dahil kung konti ang nagkakasakit, marami ang hindi mangangailangan ng antibiotic. At sa panahon nga natin ngayon, dahil sa dami na nagkakasakit at sa dami ng iba't ibang damot na binibigay, marami na pong mga antibiotic ang nawawalan ng bisa
o hindi na tinatablan yung iniinom nito, tinatablan pa rin ng sakit. In other words, resistance is now continuously emerging as a huge problem. In addition, increasing immunization globally would have saved an additional 1.5 million people every year. Bakit nga po napakaganda ng pagbabakuna? Hindi lang po na kumukonti ang mga sakit, because in vaccination, we just don't focus on those who will not get sick. We also look at decreased morbidity and mortality, lower healthcare costs, and improve productivity. Next slide, please. Why is there confusion? Nakikita po natin sa mga datos na ibinigay sa atin, almost more than 500,000 have been confirmed to be inflicted with the novel virus, COVID-19. But is this the actual data that we are seeing? Ito po ba ang totoong datos ng mga nagkakasakit? I beg to disagree. Because many who cannot afford, who do not have the access to testing, are not testing themselves. In other words, mas malala pa dito ang nakikita nating problema. And there is confusion. Why? Because there seemingly is a group of people who continuously miseducate and misinform the public that COVID is something that is not frightening. Ako po ay umiikot sa iba't ibang lugar, lalo na po sa aking probinsya at doon po sa probinsyang aking pinanganakan. At nakakagulat because even those who are educated are continuously asking, totoo po ba ang COVID? Is there truth to the pandemic? Or baka gawa-gawa lang yan ng ilang mga tao o gawa-gawa lang yan ng gobyerno para magkaroon ng gastusin ng taong bayan? Distinguished colleagues, honorable members of this august body, COVID-19 is real. It has killed people and will continuously kill people unless we all educate ourselves and call for vaccine literacy. Kaliwat kanan din ang paninira ng kung ano-ano mga produkto meron ang mundo ngayon. Porket ang isang produkto ay galing sa isang bansa, ang sasabihin nila hindi yan maganda without actually looking into the science of it. Next slide, please. Despite the proven clinical and cost-effectiveness of vaccination, vaccines have not yet achieved their full potential. Rates of immunization among children and adults remain suboptimal, leading to a resurgence of some infectious diseases like measles, polio, and Japanese encephalitis. Bakit po ba ito nangyayari? Dahil isang post lang, isang salita lang, kagaya ng measles, nung nagkaroon ng pagsisinungaling sa Amerika ng measles, mumps, rubella vaccine ay nakakakos ng autism, agad marami ang naniwala, marami ang hindi nagpabakuna, marami ang namatay at kumalat ito sa buong mundo. Ang pagbabakuna ay isang paraan para maprotektahan natin ang ating sarili, ang ating pamilya at ang ating mamayanan. Ngunit tila ang dami pa ring agam-agam tungkol sa bakuna at kasabay ng pandemic na dinaranas natin ay mas matinding virus, ang infodemic. Next slide, please. Infodemic refers to the rapid spread of both accurate and inaccurate information about a disease. As facts, rumors, and fears mix and disperse, it becomes difficult to learn essential information about the issue. Pagka marami po ang nagsasalitang hindi naman mga eksperto, naguguluhan ang taong bayan. Kaya po naapektuhan at ang ating mga eksperto ay nawawala ng boses at yun namang nagpapanggap na eksperto ay nagkakaroon ng boses. Who are the victims of this? Of course, our people. Next slide, please. Infodemic, much of it is not true, and in COVID-19 infodemic, this can actually be countered by scientific evidence, clear and consistent communication, and improved health literacy of both individuals in need of information and those providing it. Next slide, please. DOH identifies vaccine hesitancy as one of the reasons for measles outbreak. In fact, infodemic has been declared as one of the top 10 global health threats by the World Health Organization in 2019. Dahil hirap na hirap ang mga doktor, hindi lamang po sa Pilipinas, kundi sa buong mundo. Because many scientists, real experts and doctors are very busy in their laboratories, in their hospitals, and dealing with their patients. Yun namang mga hindi totoong eksperto ay mas may panahon na umupo at magpakalat ng mga maling balita sa social media. Globally, public reluctance to be vaccinated is expanding. The recent measles outbreaks reflect parental concerns about vaccines, and each year, many adults refuse the seasonal influenza vaccine or get it late. Baseline vaccine hesitancy and uneven access to vaccines, coupled with the country's currently charged political environment and fragmented pandemic response, call for effective planning and implementation of a COVID-19 vaccine program. With one post, one click, one share, non-experts can spread misinformation and people consume this. Kalimitan yung mga hindi totoong eksperto ay magaling gumawa ng mga statements na akala mo ay totoo. At kapag ito'y nilagay sa social media, agad napapaniwala ang milyong-milyong mga tao. It gets harder for experts and real scientists to correct what people presume to be true. At dito sa ating bansa, mas mabilis na ang kumakalat ang fake news at disinformation, mas nakakahawa pa ang madaliang paniniwala dito. Why is it that when other countries are now working to prepare for this pandemic, dito naman sa ating bansa, tila may mga tao pa rin nagsasabi, hindi totoo na may COVID? Next slide, please. The Pulse Asia survey last November to December 2020 showed that those who are willing to be vaccinated is a measly 32%. Those who says no is 47%. And those who cannot say otherwise, 21%. Napakasakit po na ang taong bayan, 32% lang ang tatanggap ng COVID vaccine. As an uncertain population anticipates the development of a COVID-19 vaccine to help return society to some semblance of normalcy, priming the public for vaccine acceptance is an urgent public health priority. With daily lives interrupted and vaccine discussions dominating news headlines, government hearings, and social media discourse, this urgency should be used as a teachable moment to promote vaccine literacy, address hesitancy, and build resilience to misinformation specific to a COVID-19 vaccine and about vaccination more generally. Next slide, please. The fact that lack of access to vaccine is a critical driver of low immunization rates in many communities is undeniable. Sa iba pong mga bansa, ang kanilang problema ay wala silang bakuna. Dito naman sa atin, ang problema natin, meron nga tayong bakuna, may mga paparating na bakuna, pero marami namang fake news or infodemic. And this will not only hurt our economy, this will not only hurt our COVID response, this will not only hurt our current generation, but the implication will last for years. The hesitancy observed regarding COVID-19 vaccines is in many ways understandable, given the novelty of the virus. Mixed messages about the severity of the disease, concerns about the rapid vaccine development timeline, and perceived politicization of the process. These COVID-19 specific concerns may be exacerbated by factors that reduce vaccine confidence in general, including distrust in traditional sources of health information, the rapid and extensive spread of misinformation online, and disinformation campaigns that take advantage of the divisive public discourse around vaccines. We need effective vaccine communication kung saan mabibigyang kasiguraduhan ang mga kababayan natin na epektibo at ligtas ang bakuna. May papakita ang benepisyong dulot ng pagbabakuna, may papaliwanag ang vaccine development, FDA approval, monitoring at distribution process, mabibigyang linaw ang pag-aalinlangan ng mga tao at masasagot ang mga kasagutan nila at sasagot o itatama ang mga fake news na kakalat tungkol sa bakuna. Any vaccine demonized ruins the whole immunization program. When one vaccine is questioned, experts and those in power who know better should come and be able to talk to defend it. Next slide, please. Vaccine hesitancy will never be solved kung palaging iwas pusoy ang dapat namumuno sa pagresolba nito. Our health leaders should be speaking the truth at all times, never selective, hindi takot at hindi namumulitika. Huwag nating hayaang matalo ng maling impormasyon at takot ang mga benepisyong maidudulot sana ng mga bakuna. Huwag nating hayaang mapolitika at makakapagresolba ng mga problemang pangkalusugan ng ating bansa. Hindi naman basta-basta nilalabas ang mga bakuna, taon ang binibilang para gawin ito. Traditional vaccine, next slide please. Napakalawak po ng impact ng mga bakuna sa atin. On the side of health, it reduces infectious disease morbidity and mortality, eradicates infectious diseases, prevents cancer, and reduces diseases that complicate vaccine-preventable diseases. It also prevents antibiotic resistance, and on a long term, once available for commercial use or with a marketing authorization, it can induce herd immunity. On the economy, cost savings is something that is beyond description when we talk about the impact of vaccination. Cost-effective preparedness for outbreaks, productivity gains, establishment of programs for vaccine development, and minimizing the impact on a family shattered with an infectious disease. On the social impact of vaccines, there is of course what we call health equity. Kung ano ang meron at kaya ng mga mayayaman sa tawag ng kalusugan, ay dapat nagkakaroon din ang mahihirap. That is why government is providing vaccines for free. It will also strengthen the health and social care infrastructure. The impact of life expectancy and opportunity is beyond description, and women are empowered. Next slide, please. It is important that in combating COVID-19, we must increase attention to vaccination now. The impact of COVID-19 on the Philippine business is already dismal. Huwag na po nating dagdagan ang pagbaba ng ating ekonomiya dahil lang sa chismis. Naiintindihan po natin at dapat maintindihan natin na importante ang pagbabakuna sa COVID because it is easily transmissible and the new variants that has mutated calls for strengthening its spike proteins, which translates to easy infectivity. Uncertain disease course, because there's a lot that we still don't know about COVID. It disproportionately affects elderly and the ethnic and racial minority populations, and it provides a fertile ground for misinformation. The issue of COVID has already been politicized so much. Next slide, please. The fact that lack of access to vaccines is a critical driver for low immunization is undeniable. However, in our country, that people are actually moving to make these vaccines available, we should have an answer. Although newly developed COVID-19 vaccines are poised to be a powerful tool in the control of the devastating pandemic, the public's confidence in and willingness to receive the vaccines will determine the outcome of this mass-scale public health intervention. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. What is the cause? Next slide, please. What is the cause in the observed COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy? Bakit po ba marami ang umaayaw? Of course, there's the novelty of the virus, mixed messages about severity of the disease, the concerns about rapid vaccine development timeline, perceived politicization of the process, exacerbated by factors that reduce vaccine confidence in general. And these are distrust in traditional sources of health information, rapid and extensive spread of misinformation online, and disinformation campaigns. Next slide, please. This is very important. The key goals of COVID-19 vaccination communication is to provide assurance of vaccine safety and efficacy, highlight the collective and individual benefits of vaccination, address vaccine hesitancy, and respond to dominant concerns without judgment or overly directive language. Monitor misinformation and immediately develop counter messages. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Traditional vaccine development can take 15 years or more. Nakikita po natin sa slide na ito that traditional vaccine development pipeline is exemplified here in the absence of a pandemic. It starts with a lengthy discovery phase in which vaccines are designed and exploratory preclinical experiments are conducted. This is usually followed by a phase in which more formal preclinical experiments and toxicology studies are performed and in which production processes are developed. During this process, an investigational new drug application is filed and the vaccine candidate then enters phase 1, 2, and 3 trials. When phase 3 trials are completed, the predetermined endpoints have been met, biologics license application is filed, reviewed by regulatory agencies, and finally the vaccine is licensed. After that, large-scale production begins. Vaccine development for COVID is following an accelerated timeline. At bakit ito kailangan? Dahil tayo po ay nasa pandemya. Why did it take them faster than the other conventional vaccines? Because development of the accelerated vaccine took off from development of SARS-CoV and the MERS-CoV, two viruses that are related to COVID-19. Existing processes were adopted, and phase 1 and 2 were immediately started, alternating and overlapping with phase 3 trials. But how exactly do vaccine works? Essentially, COVID-19 vaccines will give us immunity against COVID. Next slide, please. The vaccine actually works by helping us develop immunity against COVID. Different types of vaccine work in different ways. Kaya napakahirap po na merong iba na dinidemonize or minamasamang ibang bakuna dahil hindi nila naiintindihan na bawat bakuna meron kanya-kanyang proseso, kanya-kanyang strength, kanya-kanyang weaknesses, at kanya-kanyang pamamaraan kung saan ito ay makakatulong sa tao. However, all types of vaccines leave the body with a supply of memory T lymphocytes as well as B lymphocytes that will remember how to fight that virus in the future. Generally, it takes a few weeks for the body to produce antibodies after vaccination. Kaya ang tanong ng iba, bakit po nabakunahan kahapon? Kinabukasan ay nahawa na kaagad. It is not a frequent occurrence, but it can occur dahil kapag ikaw ay nabakunahan, it will take you 2 to 3 weeks para magkaroon ng proteksyon. Kaya nga po, importante na maski ikaw ay nabakunahan, you still have to practice the minimum public health standards. And sometimes after vaccination, the process of building immunity can cause symptoms such as fever. These are normal. It is actually a sign that your body is building immunity. Next slide, please. These are the types of COVID-19 vaccines. We have the mRNA vaccines, the protein vaccines, vector vaccines, attenuated vaccines, inactivated vaccines. Iba-iba po ang mekanismo ng kanilang paggawa. Iba-iba rin naman po ang mekanismo ng kanilang pagpasok sa katawan ng tao at pagbigay ng proteksyon. Kaya po, hindi pwedeng lahatin lang silang lahat at hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na ang isa ay mas maganda kesa dito sa isa. But others who have medical knowledge and some doctors would have a preference of their own, depending on the field that they have been exposed to and depending on the population that will be vaccinated. Next slide, please. Ito naman po, bibigyang diin lang natin kung paano yung mRNA vaccines gumagalaw. Dahil dito nga nagkakaroon ng haka-hakang iba na kapag ikaw po ay nagkaroon ng messenger RNA vaccine, ay didiktahan ng bakuna ang katawan mo para magkasakit. Mali po yun. ang messenger RNA vaccines ay bagong teknolohiya na sana dati ay ginawa para sa SARS at para sa MERS-CoV, ngunit hindi natapos. Kasalukuyan itong dumadaan sa ilang taong pag-aaral para gamitin na bakuna kontra sa mga iba't ibang klase ng cancer sa buong mundo. However, because of this pandemic, some of the scientists under CDC decided to come up with a COVID-19 vaccine using this technology. Ano po ba ang ginagawa niya? Ang bakuna ay merong lamang messenger. Pagka pumasok sa katawan ng tao, papasok sa isang cell at yung messenger ay magbibigay ng instruction sa cell na gumawa ng spike protein. Ito po yung mga tusok-tusok na nakikita natin sa actual virus. And once that cell makes a protein, it automatically discards the instruction. At dahil yung cell ay nagkaroon ng protein or tusok sa labas na kamukha ng COVID, natural, ang mga gwardya ng katawan ng tao at ang immune cells ay aatakihin ang cell na ito, specifically that portion of the spike protein. In effect, antibodies will be produced and then will watch out for subsequent infection. Doon naman sa mga bakuna na ngayon ay currently available at ang ginagamit nila ay inactivated or deactivated virus. Yan po ang ginagamit na teknolohiya sa napakaraming bakuna. And an inactivated or deactivated virus has rendered the virus harmless but sufficient to generate an immune response. Will I personally use it? Of course, yes. Because that technology has been proven to be very effective in producing antibodies. Uulitin po natin. Lahat ng mga bakuna na dumaan na at binibigyan ng EUA ay kasalukuyan pang tinatapos ang pag-aaral. Subalit, the safety and the efficacy has already been established. The duration is what is now being studied. At dun sa mga bakuna na ang proseso nila ay gumamit ng pangkaraniwang proseso kagaya ng deactivated or inactivated virus, kagaya ng Sinopharm and to some extent Sinovac, but Sinopharm has already been widely used and we have heard that it has already been issued a marketing authorization sa kanilang bansa. Ibig sabihin nito, ang bakunang iyan ay nakaturok na ng milyon-milyong tao. We've heard it's now 20 million. And natapos na yung lahat ng trial na kailangan at kaya available na siya at binibigay na sa maski sino mga ilangan. In other words, it is now ready for commercial and public use. We should not judge vaccines by its country of origin because all vaccines is actually an outcome, an output of how scientists work across countries and across nationalities. Wala pong mga scientifico ang gumagawa lang ng pansarili nila because these experts, we all work together and we exchange information. Next slide, please. Bottom line, each vaccine is distinct when it comes to efficacy, storage, dosing, and even production. Next slide, please. What are then the goals of immunization? Immunization covers a lot of things. Paulit-ulit pong nag-aaway-away ang lahat. Bababa ang efficacy ng isa, mataas ang efficacy ng isa. The efficacy cannot be compared as of this point of time because you cannot compare apples and oranges. Let me cite a very specific example. Pag sinabi po nating mataas ang efficacy ng isang bakuna, tingnan po natin dapat ang lahat ng dokumento na nakasaad doon. Primarily because study on phase 3A has been conducted within a 2-month period. Yung iba, limitado yung kanilang subjects. Ibig sabihin, ang pagbabakuna ay ginawa sa limitadong tao kung saan walang mahihirap na bansa. Example, if the vaccine was developed in a very rich country where infection rate is very poor and where houses are available, where nutrition is good, where people practice social distancing, wearing of masks, then the efficacy will be high. But if the vaccine is done among healthcare workers, na kung saan yung mga tao ay araw-araw, merong mga pasyenteng nakakasalamuha, the efficacy is expected to be low. Another question, sa pag-aaral ng mga bakuna, ang efficacy did not cover whether you will be regularly tested or not. Yung ibang mga bakuna, nung sila ay ginawa, ang mga subjects of the trials were tested every 2 weeks. Kaya maski walang sintomas na nagpositibo at nahawa, nakakapture. Pero yung ibang mga bakuna, ang ginawa sa kanila, it was an experiment, subject for trial, you will only be tested if you want and if you have symptoms. In COVID, a symptomatic rate is 80%. In other words, those who were infected but asymptomatic were not declared. Kaya mataas ang efficacy. Bottom line, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I can still say a lot of stories and explanations why we cannot compare the efficacy of one vaccine to another vaccine. But we can request our experts to discuss each vaccine independently from other vaccines because each one is different from each other. So before we move further and criticize, the best thing to do now is to listen if you are not an expert. Because we will always be misled by anti-vaxxers if we do not listen. That is why the efficacy that we are seeing now will still change, maybe every quarter, every month. It will change at the end of this year. It will change next year. All of these are running figures in the next 3 to 6 years. That is consistent with all vaccine development. Bakit ang sasabihin ngayon ng iba, kung hindi pala efficacious, then wag na tayong magpabakuna. Wrong. Because the goal of immunization is not just about efficacy. Hahangarin ng isang bakuna na i-abolish or i-eradicate ang isang sakit. However, in a pandemic, that will be very impossible. Una nating pupuntiryahin. The first goal is walang dapat mamatay dahil sa COVID. So all vaccines who were proven to statistically reduce deaths will have to be accepted. Second, the goal of the vaccinologist is that itong bakuna na ito will cause the public that anybody infected will not die. Or kung magkasakit ka man, ay hindi ka na mauospital. Or kung magkasakit ka man, ay wala kang sintomas. In other words, the primary goal of immunization in a pandemic is to drastically produce 0 deaths and to substantially reduce morbidity. In other words, meron pang magkakasakit pero walang matataranta dahil hindi ito nakakamatay at hindi ito nakaka-hospital. Later on, we will now move forward to a vaccine that will now eradicate the infection. As of this point of time, hindi pa natin masabi kung ikaw ay mahawa, maski nabakunahan ka na, hindi ka mamamatay, that's correct. Hindi ka magkakaroon ng sintomas, that's correct. But you can still possibly transmit the virus. That's why vaccination goes hand in hand with practicing minimum public health standards. Next slide, please. Marami rin ang kinakabahan dahil sabi ng iba, uy, yung mga nabakunahan, nagkaroon ng sore muscles, napapagod, nilalagnat. These are expected mild side effects, which is a body's reaction when you take in the vaccine. Dahil ang tanong ng iba, bakit daw hindi na lang bigyan ng antibodies? Bakit kailangan pabigyan ng pinatay or remnants of a virus? Manapakadali po, Mr. Speaker, ng sagot doon. Antibodies that is transfused or given to a body of a person usually do not survive long. Gugustuhin mo ba na buwan-buwan ikaw ibibigyan ng antibodies? That is why in vaccination, you produce long-term protection via an artificial infection. Para kang nagkakasakit na hindi ka naman nagkakasakit. At ang produce noon ay ang katawan mo ay magiging mas matalino na makikilala niya na ang mga darating na sakit. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. That is why, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, it is very important that after vaccination, you still have to protect yourself and others and practice all the minimum public health standards and hygiene needed because this gives you and others the best protection from catching the virus. Right now, our experts don't know how long the vaccine will protect you. For Sinopharm, which I was informed is the only vaccine that has an issued certificate of product registration, or technically, natapos na po talaga ang lahat ng trial na kailangan para gamitin ng sambayan ng tao. Yan po ang isang bakuna na ang tawag ay Sinopharm. Ang nakikitang proteksyon ay possibly 2 years. Next slide, please. What are then the essential points? The safety of COVID-19 vaccines is a top priority. Wala pong bakuna ang lumalabas na nakakamatay. Vaccines don't kill. Because if vaccines kill, sa phase 1 and phase 2 pa lang, hindi na yan papasa. Phase 3 is just all about expanding the trial. Phase 3B is for other claims na kung sasabihin mo, itong bakuna na ito, itong epekto niya, pero meron pa siyang ibang epekto kasi siya ay nakakaganda, that is phase 3B. Phase 4 is post-marketing surveillance, meaning where the product is being consumed by the general public, patuloy po yan, nababantayan at bubusisiin ng manufacturing pharmaceutical dahil yan po ay obligasyon nila. And it goes through with all other medicines in the market. No country in the whole world requires phase 4. That is why when we place it in the universal healthcare law, we became the laughingstock of all scientists and experts in the world. COVID-19 vaccination will help protect you from getting COVID-19. 2 doses are needed. Yan po ay talagang alam ng lahat, ngunit binibigay lang siya doon sa high-risk groups. Dahil nasa EUA pa po tayo, hindi mo siya dapat binibigay sa lahat. Next slide, please. Where are we now? We have a lot of non-doctors acting like doctors, contributing to more confusion. We also have a lot of non-experts pretending to be experts and telling the people that COVID is not true. Again, they will not be held accountable if our lolos and lolas continue dying. There are also promises to vaccinate all. Napaka-imposible po niyan, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, because an emergency use authorization is just for a specific high-risk group. Dahil nakita na mas marami ang benepisyo sa mga may edad, matanda, may comorbidities at healthcare workers. Hindi siya dapat binibigay muna sa lahat-lahat because the risks might outweigh the benefits in a generally young and healthy population. There is no need to fight over the vaccines because everybody will have it. There is a high mistrust on health authorities and that should be addressed. Next slide, please. Conflicting statements. Palagi pong sinasabi, nauubusan na tayo. Lahat napunta na sa ibang bansa. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, vaccine manufacturing plants do not and cannot act independently. You are guided and controlled by the whole world. Kaya unahin ang mga population kung saan nakita na ang benepisyo at habang ito'y patuloy na pinag-aaralan, more information will come. That is then the time that we can vaccinate the regular workers and the otherwise healthy population. I don't even think that our government will run out of money. Because if you compute even 40% of our population, 20% are already given free, we still have donations. The 78 or the 87 billion that our government has already allocated is more than enough. What is important now is to address vaccine hesitancy. EUA versus CPR. Emergency use authorization means pinapayagan siyang gamitin sa piling mga sektor dahil mas malaki ang benepisyo kesa sa risk. And who are these? These are the people who risks of dying from COVID. Bakit inuuna ang health workers? Of course, because we need to protect them. But most importantly, we vaccinate the healthcare workers because the hospitals has been shown to be high transmission areas of COVID. At kapag nahawa ang doktor o ang nurse or ang health worker, patuloy niyang mahahawa ang ibang tao. You intercept it at the point where transmission is high. What then should we do? Next slide, please. We should listen to the real experts. We should unite as a country and as a people. We should stop politicizing public health and we should crush infodemic. Next slide, please. Strengthening the knowledge of vaccines, addressing misinformation, and reinforcing literacy skills are all necessary. They are not sufficient to fully address vaccine hesitancy and active. Next slide, please. And these are the must-wins. We have to reinforce beyond doubt that the critical role of immunization plays within a functioning delivery system. It should be headed by somebody strong who can shout and tell the whole world, vaccines do not kill. There should be a multi-sectoral commitment to develop trust in vaccines. Well, the preparation that we heard earlier from Secretary Duque are correct. These are preparations of a vaccine under an EUA. Hindi po ito ang mangyayari sa ibang mga bakuna, kaya dapat patuloy pa rin ang ibang mga bakuna na ginagamit na natin ngayon. Is there a need for the private sector to come in? They can always donate, but we cannot put the lives of their workers at risks without the completed literature that the vaccine comes with. Next slide, please. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, napakadali pong sabihin may solusyon tayo sa problema. But walking the talk is a bigger problem. And unless we all put our acts together, the virus will continuously laugh at us. Vaccinology is a very delicate fabric whose integrity we must seek to preserve. Infodemic kills. Let us educate ourselves. Let us not pass on fake and false information. Let us allow the experts to speak up. Let us not push them to do wrong things, because at the end of the day, their decision should be respected. Last slide, please. With this, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, these two dogs have been witness of the many scientists and experts that have contributed their lives and their families in the field of immunization and vaccinology. Let us not put the resources to waste, and let us all together, again, unite and approach the pandemic with one single voice. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Janet Garin to the Committee on Rules for appropriate action. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved, and the privileged speech of the Honorable Garin is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I apologize to the members who wish to avail of the privilege hour. We are experiencing technical difficulties since our audio team was not able to prepare fully well this afternoon. We are constrained to defer the privilege speeches tomorrow. And may I ask the indulgence of the members of the House who have availed of the privilege hour that you may be able to avail of the same tomorrow. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move that we close the period of privilege hour.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The privilege hour is hereby closed. Majority
Mr.
Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve on third and final reading House Bill number 8164. May I ask the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the measure and then thereafter call the roll for nominal voting. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved, and the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 8164 and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 8164, an act providing for the revised charter of the Philippine Veterans Bank, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 3518 as amended. Roll call of members. In consideration of House Bill number 8164, Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abuexaldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Jong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Sinaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Umentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biason, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Cabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredinil, Cayetano Alan Peter Compañero, Cayetano Mariela Arni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalao, Coangelica, Coelizaldi, Cuanco, Collantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Colyamat, Dagoo, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Los Montalia, De Maporo Abdullah, De Maporo Khalid, Duavit Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael III, D. Ian Paul, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Ergel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudy Caesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia, Jose Enrique, Garcia, Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Goed, Gomark, Gonzaga, Gonzales, Aurelio Dong, Gonzales, Neptali Gonzales Sandro, Guruseta, Gico, Gullas, Guya, Jaresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Halusos, Javier, Jimenez, Co Elisa, Co Wilton, Kong Hun, Labad Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lasatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Losotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Magundadato, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Mariño, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Nagaño, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles, Jericho, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Nolasco, Núñez Malañaon, Waminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padjernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Rimulya, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sangcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmento, Saulug, Sevillano, Xiao, Silverio, Singson Mihan, Singson, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Shamir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves Arnulfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Chutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Val Mayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva, Brother Eddie, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaras Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waycorat, Zarate, Zubiri. Second call for House Bill number 8164. Abaya, Acosta, Agaraw, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Aragones, Atienza, Comentado, Bernos, Biron, Bulot, Kabatbat, Calixto, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Co Elizaldi, Cuanco, Quaresma, Dalipe, De Venecia, Defensor Michael, Demaporo Abdullah, Duavit, Ebcas, Enverga, Espino, Farinas, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Fortun, Gaite, Garbin, Garin Sharon, Goed, Gonzalez Zandro, Gico, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Halushos, Konghun, Lagman, Lagon, Liachon, Macapagal-Arroyo, Mangawang, Magundadato, Mariño, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nava, Nograles Juan Fidel, Nolasco, Núñez Malañao, Olivares, Ortega, Padjernos, Panotes, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Rimulya, Romero, Roque, Sagarbaria, Saulug, Silverio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Alisa, Tan Shamir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Teves Arnulfo, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tutor, T. Alan, Vargas Alfonso, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villar, Villaras Suarez, Villarica.
The result of the voting on House Bill number 8164 is as follows. In the affirmative, 213. In the negative, 0, and abstentions, 0. House Bill number 8164 is approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve on third and final reading House Bill number 8057. May I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the same and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. Motion is approved, and the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 8057 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 8057, an act instituting the Magna Carta of Filipino Seafarers. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 8057. Honorable Representatives Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg Zaldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Genaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagaching, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabutsan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro France, Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Mariela Arni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalao, Co Angelica, Co Elizaldi, Co Juanco, Colyantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Loso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudis Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Coriseta, Wico, Gulias, Guya, Haresco, Ataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hoffer, Haloshos, Javier, Jimenez, Co Elisa, Co Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Leachon, Legarda, Lim, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Naganyo, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malanyaon, Waminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Juano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Ieda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sangkopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulog, Seveliano, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Eliza, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves, Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Chanco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikurat, Zarate Zubiri.
Mr. Speaker, I will explain my vote later.
Second call. Second call. Second call. Roll call of members in consideration on second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill 8057. Abaya, Acosta, Agaraw, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Aragones, Atienza, Aumentado, Bernos, Biron, Bulut, Kabatbat, Calixto, Cardema, Cari, Co Elizaldi, Cojuangco, Quaresma, Dalipe, De Venecia, Defensor Michael, Duhali, Ebcas, Enverga, Espino, Fariñas Rudis Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Fortun, Garbin, Garin Sharon, Go Ed, Gonzales Sandro, Guico, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Haloshos, Konghun, Lagman, Lagon, Liachon, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marino, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nava, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Núñez Malaniaon, Olivares, Ortega, Padiernos, Panotes, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Remulla, Romero, Roque, Sagarbaria, Saulog, Silverio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Alaisa, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Teves Arnolfo, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tutor, T. Alan, Unabia, Vargas Alfonso, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica.
With 217 voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative vote, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 8057 is approved on third and final reading. What is the pleasure of the Honorable Sarate?
Mr. Speaker, I will just explain my affirmative vote, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Sarate may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bumuboto ng yes with reservation ang kinatawang ito at ang bayan muna sa House Bill number 8057 o ang Magna Carta for Seafarers. Tayo po ay sumusuporta sa pagkakilala ng mga karapatan ng ating mga marino. Maituturing itong isang tagumpay para sa ating mga marino ang pagkakapasa ng panukalang batas ito, lalo na ngayong nasa gitna tayo ng isang krisis na pinalala pa ng pandemya ng COVID. Subalit naniniwala ang kinatawang ito, Ginoong Speaker, na kulang pa rin ang panukalang batas na ito. Sa panukalang batas na ito na meron din kaming inihain, ang Bayan Muna at ang Makabayan Black, ninanais natin na gawing regular ang sinumang seafarer na may pinagsama o cumulative na isang taong pagtatrabaho sa isang ahensya, alinsunod sa Article 279 ng Labor Code of the Philippines. Ito sana ay magbibigay ng seguridad sa trabaho ng ating mga seafarers, lalo na ngayong nasa recession ang Pilipinas at maging ang buong mundo. Isa ring pagkakaiba ng aming inihain na panukalang batas sa House Bill number 8057 ay ang pagkilala sa mga crew ng ocean-going fishing vessels bilang mga seafarers, lalong-lalo na sila ang mga na-stranded ngayong pandemya nang walang natanggap na tulong o probisyon at marami ay binibitawan ng kumpanya. Sa ilalim ng POA contract, kinikilala na sila bilang seafarers, ngunit hindi sa panukalang batas na ito na ating ipinapasa sa ngayon. Subalit, ganun pa man, kahit nasa mga kakulangang ito, muli bumuboto tayo ng yes, ang kinatawang ito sa House Bill number 8057 o ang Magna Carta for Seafarers dahil di naman sa pagkilala natin na mayroon ding mga makabuluhang probisyon na nilalaman ang panukalang batas na ito. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve on third and final reading House Bill number 8140. May I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the same and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there
So
any
moved,
objection?
Mr. Speaker.
The Chair hears none. Motion is approved, and the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 8140 and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 8140, an act providing enhanced protection, security, and benefits for media workers. Roll call of members. In consideration of House Bill number 8140, Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg Saldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Agvincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez, Franz Alvarez Sinaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Umentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyes Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Berzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biason, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Cabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredinil, Cayetana Alan Peter Compañero, Cayetana Maria Laarni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalao, Congelica, Coelzalde, Cuanco, Collantes, Crisologo, Cuac, Cuaresma, Cueva, Colyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dasa, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Los Montalya, Demaporo Abdullah, Demaporo Muhammad Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael III, D. Ian Paul, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Ergel, Ermita Buhay, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Fer Luis, Flores, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebelle, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia, Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales, Aurelio Dong, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Guruseta, Gico, Gulyas, Guya, Jaresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Halusos, Javier, Jimenez, Co Elisa, Co Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lasatino, Liachon, Legarda, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Magundadato, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Nagaño, Nava, Nieto, Noel Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan Fidel, Nolasco, Núñez Malañaon, Waminal, Olivares, Once, Ongroni, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sator, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Sieda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, sa Garbarria, sa Kaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sancopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulug, Savellano, Siao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mian, Sinsuat, Swansing, Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez, Aleta, Suarez, David, Suntay, si Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Shamir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Tejada, Teves, Arnulfo, Teves, Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Chutorti, Alan T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva, Brother Eddie, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villara Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikorat, Zarate, Zubiri.
Mr. Speaker, I explain my vote also later.
Second call for House Bill number 8140. Abaya, Acosta, Agaraw, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Atienza, Aumentado, Bernos, Biron, Bulot, Kabatbat, Calixto, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Co Elizalde, Cuanco, Quaresma, De Venecia, Devensor Michael, Demopor Abdullah, Duhali, Ebcas, Enverga, Espino, Farinas, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Garbin, Garincharon, Goed, Gonzales Sandro, Gico, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Halusos, Konghun, Lagman, Lagon, Liachon, Mangawang, Magundadato, Marino, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Nolasco, Núñez Malañaon, Olivares, Ortega, Padiernas, Panotes, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Remulla, Romero, Roque, Sagarbaria, Saulug, Silverio, Suarez, Aleta, Suarez, David, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Alisa, Tan Shamir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Teves Arnulfo, Torres Gomez, Chutorti, Alan, Vargas Alfonso, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villar, Villara Suarez, Villarica.
With 218 voting in the affirmative, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 8140 is approved on third and final reading. What is the pleasure of the Honorable Zarate?
Mr. Speaker, I will explain my affirmative vote on House Bill number 8140.
The Honorable Zarate may take 3 minutes to explain his vote.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong Speaker. Ginoong Speaker, ang kinatawang ito ay bumoboto ng yes sa House Bill number 8140, mas kilala bilang Media Workers Welfare Act. Layo nitong lutasin ang isa sa pinakamatagal ng issue sa mga manggagawa sa media. Ito ay ang kawalan ng seguridad sa hanap buhay. Ang mga manggagawa sa sektor ng media ay ang laging nauuna pagdating sa iba't ibang mga kaganapan dito sa ating bansa. At wala itong pinipiling panahon dahil trabaho nila ang maghatid ng balita at impormasyon sa ating mga mamamayan. Mahalaga din ang papel ng media ngayong panahon ng pandemya at sa mga sunod-sunod na sakuna upang mas madaling malaman ang kalagayan ng mga kababayan natin na apektuhan at sa kung sino ang nangangailangan ng tulong at ayuda. Matagal ng advokasya ng bayan muna ang pagwawaksi sa kontraktualisasyon at sa pagpapalawig ng security of tenure ng mga manggagawang Pilipino. Mahalagang probisyon ng panukalang batas na ito ay ang pagsunod sa patakaran sa minimum wage na taliwas sa nakasanayan na sa media ngayon na per episode or per coverage ang pagbibigay ng sahod. Kailangan na rin, Ginoong Speaker, na maghulog ng mga media companies o may-ari ng mga prensa sa kontribusyon ng SSS, PhilHealth at Pag-ibig para sa kanilang mga empleyado. Kinikilara rin ang karapatan ng mga manggagawa sa media patungkol sa hazard pay at mandatory insurance dahil sa likas na panganib ng kanilang trabaho. Sila ay sumasalang din sa mga sakuna, kalamidad, gera at iba pa. Kaya sa mga kadahilanan ito at dahil sa pagkilala ng karapatan ng mga media workers at pagbibigay sa kanila ng mga dagdag na benepisyo, lalo na ang pagkakaroon ng mandatory insurance, ay muli bumoboto ng yes ang representasyong ito sa House Bill number 8140. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider on third and final reading House Bill 2378. And for that purpose, may I request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill, call the roll of members for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved, and the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 2378 and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 2378, an act declaring the city of San Jose del Monte in the province of Bulacan as human resource capital. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 2378. Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg Zaldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez France, Alvarez Senaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Pascug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro France, Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Mariela Arni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalao, Co Angelica, Co Elizaldi, Cojuangco, Colyantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Loso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Rigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudis Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Geron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gulias, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Alasjos, Javier, Jimenez, Co Elisa, Co Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Leachon, Legarda, Lim, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Nagaño, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malanaon, Maminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez Sato, Remulia, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Yeda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sangkopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulog, Sevillano, Siao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinsuwat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alaisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikorat, Zarate Zubiri. Second call in consideration on third reading of House Bill 2378, Abaya, Acosta, Agaraw, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Atienza, Aumentado, Bernos, Biron, Bulot, Kabatbat, Calixto, Cardema, Cari, Co Elizaldi, Cojuangco, Quaresma, Dalipe, De Venecia, Defensor Michael, Duhali, Ebcas, Enverga, Espino, Fariñas Rudiz, Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Garbin, Garin Sharon, Go Ed, Gonzales Sandro, Guico, Guya, Haresco, Ataman, Aloshos, Konghun, Lagman, Lagon, Lechon, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marino, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Núñez, Malanaon, Olivares, Ortega, Padiernos, Panotes, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Remulla, Romero, Roque, Sagarbaria, Saulog, Silverio, Swansing Aleta, Suarez, David, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Alaisa, Tan Samier, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Teves Arnolfo, Torres Gomez, Tutor, T. Alan, Unabia, Vargas Alfonso, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica.
With 220 voting in the affirmative, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 2378 is approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Speaker, I move that we approve on third and final reading House Bill number 7460. For that purpose, may I request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll of members for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. Motion is approved, and the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 7460 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 7460, an act to declare the city of Davao as the chocolate and cacao production capital of the Philippines and for other purposes. Roll call of members in consideration of House Bill number 7460. Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg Saldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez France, Alvarez Senaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Umentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Bersaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biason, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondoc, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Cabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro France, Castro Fredinir, Cayetano Alan Peter, Compañero, Cayetano Mariela Arni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalauco, Angelica, Coelzalde, Coanco, Colyantes, Crisologo, Cuwa, Quaresma, Cueva, Colyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dasa, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Los Montalia, Demaporo Abdullah, Demaporo Muhammad Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ina, Di Faustino Michael III, D. Ian Paul, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer, Juliet, Ferrer, Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Puentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia, Jose Enrique, Garcia, Pablo Jan, Garcia, Vincent, Garin, Janet, Garin, Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Herongo, Edgo, Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales, Aurelio Don, Gonzales, Neptali, Gonzales, Sando, Groseta, Gico, Gullas, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, D, Hofer, Halusos, Javier, Jimenez, Co, Elisa, Co, Wilton, Konghun, Labad, Lacson, Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lasatin, Liachon, Legarda, Limlem, Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Losotan, Macapagal-Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Magundadato, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Nagaño, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles, Jericho, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Nolasco, Núñez Malañaon, Waminal Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Rimulya, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes Rodriguez, Roman Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo Romulo Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sangkupan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulug, Sevillano, Xiao Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez, Aleta Suarez, David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Shamir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Tejada Teves, Arnulfo Teves, Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Chutorti, Alan T. Diego, Umali, Alfonso, Umali, Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villaferte, Villanueva, Brother Eddie, Villanueva, Noel, Villar, Villara, Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap, Eric, Yap, Victor, Yu, Zamora, Ronaldo, Zamora, Waikorat, Zarate, Zubiri. Second call for House Bill number 7460. Abaya, Acosta, Agarao, Alvarez Pantaleona, Matong, Atienza, Aumentado, Bernos, Biron, Bulot, Kabatbat, Calixto, Cardema, Cari, Castro Francisco, Elizalde, Cuanco, Quaresma, Dalipe, De Venecia, Defensor Michael, Demaporo, Abdullah, Duhali, Ebcas, Enverga, Espino, Farinas, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Garbin, Garin Sharon, Goed, Gonzales, Sandro, Gico, Gullias, Haresco, Hataman, Halusos, Konghun, Lagman, Lagon, Liacion, Mangawang Magundadato, Marino, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles, Juan Fidel Nolasco, Nunez, Juan Alneon, Olivares, Ortega, Padiernos, Panotes, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Remulla, Romero, Roque Sagarbaria, Saulug, Silverio Suarez, Aleta Suarez, David, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Alisa, Tan Shamir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Teves, Arnulfo, Torres Gomez, Chutorti, Alan, Vargas, Alfonso, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villar, Villarasa, Suarez, Villarica.
With 220 voting in the affirmative, 0 opposed and 0 abstentions, House Bill 7460 is approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve on third and final reading House Bill 7700. I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the same and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there
So
any
moved, Mr.
objection?
Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved and the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 7700 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 7700, an act reapportioning the 1st Legislative District of the City of Caloocan into 2 legislative districts. Roll call of members for the consideration on third reading of House Bill number 7700. Honorable Representatives Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg, Zaldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Agabas, Agarao, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Senaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagaching, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Mariela Arni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalao, Co Angelica, Co Elizaldi, Co Juanco, Colyantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, Deloso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudis Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gulias, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Alosos, Javier, Jimenez, Co Elisa, Co Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Naganyo, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malanyaon, Waminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez, Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Yeda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Angcopan, Santos Rector, Sarmiento, Saulog, Sevillano, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Eliza, Tan Angelina, Tan Samier, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikurat, Zarate, Subiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill number 7700. Abaya, Acosta, Agarao, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Atienza, Aumentado, Bernos, Biron, Bulut, Kabatbat, Calixto, Cardema, Cari, Co Elizaldi, Cojuangco, Quaresma, De Venecia, Defensor Michael, Duhali, Ebcas, Enverga, Espino, Fariñas, Rudis, Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Garbin, Garin Sharon, Go Ed, Gonzales Sandro, Guico, Guya, Haresco Hataman, Salosos, Konghun, Lagman, Lagon, Yachon, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marino, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malanyaon, Olivares, Ortega, Padiernos, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Remulla, Romero, Roque, Sagarbaria, Saulog, Silverio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Eliza, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Teves Arnolfo, Torres Gomez, Tutor, T. Alan, Unabia, Vargas Alfonso, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica.
With 214 voting in the affirmative, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 7700 is approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve on third and final reading House Bill number 7950. May I request the Secretary General to be directed to read the title of the same and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. Motion is approved and the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 7950 and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 7950, an act creating a system of partnership between local governments and civil society organizations through the establishment of a People's Council in every local government unit, prescribing its powers and functions, and providing for its participation in the local sanggunian, local boards, councils, committees, task force, or similar work groups. Roll call of members in consideration of House Bill number 7950. Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg Saldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Jong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Senaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Matong, Angara, Aragones, Arbizon, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Mentada, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Baños Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Bersaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista, Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biason, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Cabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan Peter Compañero, Cayetano Mariela Arni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalauco, Angelica, Colizaldi, Cuanco, Colyantes, Crisologo, Cua, Cuaresma, Cueva, Colyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza de Jesus de Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael de los Santos, de los Montalya, Demaporo Abdullah, Demaporo Muhammad Khalid, Duavit Duhali Duterte, Di Faustino Ina, Di Faustino Michael III, Di and Paul, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Ergel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Farinas Ria, Farinas, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer, Juliet, Fer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin Garcia, Jose Enrique Garcia, Pablo Jan Garcia, Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasatalia, Gatchalian, Gato, Herongo, Edgo Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales, Aurelio, Don Gonzales, Neptari, Gonzales, Sandro, Goroseta, Gico, Gullas, Guya, Jaresco, Ataman, Hernandez, Herrera, D. Hofer, Halusosa, Villar Jimenez, Ko, Elisa, Ko, Wilton, Konghud, Lamad, Labad, Lacson, Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lasatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim Kay Chong, Lopez Loyola, Losotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Magundadato, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez Martinez, Matba Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Nagaño, Nava Nieto, Noel Nograles, Jericho Nograles, Juan Fidel Nolasco, Nunez Malañao, Waminalo, Levares, Jose Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Oano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Pajenos Paduano, Palma, Pancho Panotes, Peña Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza Puno, Kimbo Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes Rodriguez, Roman Romero, Romualdez, Ferdinand, Romualdez, Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo Sanchez, Sancopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulug, Sevillano, Xiao Silverio, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay C. Alvarado, Taduran Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Shamir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Tejada Teves, Arnulfo Teves, Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas Chutorti, Alan T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia Ungab Uy Juliet Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villafuerte, Villanueva, Brother Eddie, Villanueva, Noel, Villar, Villaras Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikorat, Zarate, Zubiri. Second call for House Bill number 7950. Abaya, Acosta, Agaraw, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Atienza, Aumentado, Bernos, Biron, Bulot, Kabatbat, Calixto, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Co Elizalde, Cuanco, Quaresma, De Venecia, Defensor Michael, Demapor Abdullah, Duhali, Ebcas, Enverga, Espino, Farinas, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando Flores, Garbin, Garin, Sharon Go, Ed Gonzalez, Sandro, Gico Gulia, Haresco, Hataman, Halusos, Konghun, Lagon, Liachon, Mangawang, Magundadato, Marino, Matba, Mercado, Mendoza, Nograles, Juan Fidel Nolasco, Nunez Balañaon, Olivares Ortega, Pajernas, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Rimulya, Romero, Roques, Sagarbaria, Saulug, Silverio, Suarez, Aleta, Suarez, David C. Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Alisa, Tan Shamir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Teves, Arnulfo, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Chutorti, Alan, Vargas Alfonso, Veloso, Villafuerte, Villar, Villaras, Suarez, Villarica.
with 217 voting in the affirmative, 0 opposed, and 6 abstentions. House Bill number 7950 is approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve on third and final reading House Bill number 8083. I request then the Secretary General to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal vote. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. Motion is approved, and the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 8083 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 8083, an act including a national artist as a member of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 7356, otherwise known as the law creating the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 8083. Honorable Representatives Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg Zaldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez France, Alvarez Genaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagaching, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Frednil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Mariela Arni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chumalao, Co Angelica, Co Elizaldi, Co Juanco, Colyantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Loso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Huico, Gulias, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hoffer, Halosos, Javier, Jimenez, Co Elisa, Co Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Lechon, Legarda, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Macapagal, Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Naganyo, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malaniaon, Waminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Cuano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Pardiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez, Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Ieda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sangcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulog, Seveliano, Shao, Silverio, Singson, Mihan, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Eliza, Tan Angelina, Tan Samier, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Victor, Yap Eric, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikurat, Zarate, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill 8083, Abaya, Acosta, Agaraw, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Atienza, Aumentado, Bernos, Biron, Bulot, Kabatbat, Calixto, Cardema, Cari, Co Elizaldi, Cojuangco, Quaresma, De Venecia, Defensor Michael, Duhali, Ebcas, Enverga, Espino, Fariñas, Rudis, Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Garin Sharon, Go Ed, Gonzales Sandro, Wico, Guya Haresco, Hataman, Halosos, Konghun, Lagon, Liachon, Mangawang, Mangudadato, Marino, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malanaon, Olivares, Ortega, Padiernos, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Remulla, Romero, Roque, Sagarbaria, Saulog, Silverio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Alaisa, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Teves Arnolfo, Torres Gomez, Tutor, T. Alan, Unabia, Vargas Alfonso, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica.
With 223 voting in the affirmative, 0 opposed and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 8083 is approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we transmit immediately all bills approved on third reading to the Senate. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider House Resolution number 1478. May I request the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the resolution. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved and the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Resolution 1478.
House Resolution number 1478, resolution commemorating the 50th anniversary of the 1971 Constitutional Convention and honoring the delegates who drafted the 1935, 1973, and 1987 constitutions for their essential role in transforming the Philippine political, economic, and social milieux.
Majority Leader.
Speaker, I move that we adopt House Resolution number 1478. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved and House Resolution 1478 is adopted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the change of referral of House Resolution number 1197, an inquiry regarding the implementation of the housing project in Purok 6, Laman, Ozamis City, Misamis Occidental, and the alleged violations in the demolition of houses and eviction of the residents while the Philippines is under state of calamity, from the Committee on Housing and Urban Development to the Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved and the change in referral is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to elect the Honorable Dalia A. Loyola as Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Health, Vice Representative Michael T. Defensor. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we elect Representative Carl Nicolas C. Cari as Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Public Information, Vice Michael T. Defensor.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved and the election is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we elect Honorable Arnie Fantabella as Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Dangerous Drugs, Vice the Honorable Michael T. Defensor. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The election is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we elect Honorable Jake Vincent Villa as Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability, Vice Representative Michael T. Defensor. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The election is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move to elect Honorable Ian Paul D. as Vice Chairperson of the Special Committee on Strategic Intelligence, Vice Representative Michael T. Defensor. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The aforementioned election is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we elect the Honorable Arnie Fantabella as Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Public Accounts, Vice Representative Luis Raymond L. Ray Villaferte. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The aforementioned election is approved.
Speaker, I move to suspend session until tomorrow, January 19 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Session is suspended until Tuesday, January 19 at 3 p.m. Kaya pala.